really wanted to do this class, even though it's a little crazy to do this class on a train, because this is such an important topic, and this is it. I mean, it's Monday night, and Wednesday night is Passover. So if we have anything we gotta talk about, or God wants anyone here to hear, we've got to do it now. So we're trying. I want to talk a little bit about the Seder plate, some of its significance, and some passages from the Seder that we're going to read that have a lot of power. Everything that has to do with the Seder is incredibly ritualized. Everything is very, very, very significant. It's not 9, it's not 11, it's exactly precisely 10. Because 10 is a very spiritual number that really reflects our DNA. God's makeup is always in numbers of 10, and therefore our spiritual makeup is in numbers of 10, and therefore the Seder plate is in this number of 10. We have under the Seder plate those 3 whole matzahs. Again, 3 is also very significant for myriads of reasons, representing levels of the Jewish people, representing many, many, many things. We're not going to talk about what it represents, just trust me. It's all very, very, very powerful, and you want to do it as precisely as you can, because it's all very significant. But I don't know what it means. Okay, but God knows what it means. So when you're putting those 3 matzahs, if you do or don't know why, God knows. You are doing something that is creating a tremendous spiritual ripple effect above, because it all has a significance far more than you or I understand. Meaning we know some reasons, and many reasons we don't know, but it's all very, very, very significant. To say 10, and you're trying to figure out how I got to the number 10, the 10 is because we have the 6 items on the Seder plate, right? Made in 2 triangles, all significant, all meaningful, all Kabbalistic. We have 3 whole matzahs under them. 6 and 3 is 9, and the plate that holds the matzah is also significant, and that creates 10. So the 6 items, the 3 matzahs, and the plate underneath, and we have these 10 items. On top of the matzahs, put some cloth over the matzah. We have, as we said, our 6 items. We have the chicken neck or roasted shank bone, that's on the top right. Opposite that on the left, we have the cooked egg. Beneath it, the bottom of that triangle, is the maror, the lettuce, and the horseradish. Back to the right, under the chicken neck or shank bone, is the haroses, that finely ground fruits, nuts, and a drop of wine. Under the egg, on the other side, is the what we call karpas, potato or onion. And the base of this triangle, directly under the maror, is another version of maror. Again, the lettuce and the horseradish. This is, again, very precisely 10. It's our spiritual DNA. It's God's 10 expressive powers, what we call his spheros or sphirot, his powers of expression. It's the 10 powers of our soul. We touched last week on the idea of the matzah, right? Matzah is the food of faith, as we said, especially the first night. Though it's a food of faith for the entire 8 days, and eat as much handmade shmura matzah as you can as possible, ideally every single meal. First night it's the food of faith, second night it's the food of healing, and throughout the entire Passover, eating it is ingesting faith. You are ingesting and digesting faith bite by bite. So the most significant matzah is the matzah of the afikomen. Afikomen is the 3rd time, if you're following all the steps of the Seder, that you eat matzah. If you're not following the steps, as I told you last week, after 7:52 each night, eat a half normative size shmura matzah. If you got those tiny little boxes with those tiny little matzahs, eat an entire one. If it's a normal size one, eat a half after 7:52 Wednesday night and 7:52 Thursday night. If you're doing it in the Seder, you eat the matzah 3 times, alone, with the sandwich, and after the meal, the dessert of the meal, the best dessert, matzah. You say the best dessert, what does it taste like? It tastes like godliness. When you're eating matzah, you're eating godliness. And especially that last matzah is the most spiritually significant. You might be tired. You had already matzah twice. You had, I'm sure, a gourmet meal, probably cooked by you. Push yourself. Eat that matzah. It is so super powerful. This represents the faith of 3 million people that went into a desert just with matzah, absolutely trusting God would provide. This represents the faith because it's so simple. It's nothing. It's flour and water. If you add anything else, it's not kosher, so to speak, for matzah, for Passover. It means a simple, selfless bond. No reasons, no conditions, no condiments, no yeast or sweeteners or oil or eggs, flour, water, belief. That's it. Four sons, right? One of the most famous parts of what we say at the Seder is the questions of the four sons. And the wise son says, what's all this for you? You know, very intellectual question. And we answer him, don't eat anything after the afikomen. Don't eat anything after that final matzah, meaning you're wise. Well, brains, wisdom, intellect, that can distort you. That could bring you to stray from the truth of God's reality. So don't eat anything after that final matzah, after the afikomen. Put aside your intellect. What we want you to leave in your mouth is the taste of faith, not intellect, not philosophy, not understanding. Matzah, afikomen, the faith in God. That is the message we give ourselves. You say, I'm not so intellectual. But whatever's intellectual of us could distract us from God. The brain connects us to God. The brain could make us cold to God. So the part of the brain that connects us to God, awesome, use. The part of the brain that maybe makes us cold, analytical, skeptical, dubious, eat the matzah. The last taste in your mouth is the matzah. Faith and freedom. The key to freedom is humility. Flat, tasteless, absolute nullification. The key to our freedom. When we're looking at the items on the Seder plate, again, I'm going to do this all briefly because I don't know when I'm going to get cut off. So I'm trying to just put in whatever I can here. When we're looking at the items on the Seder plate, we have, as we said, the shank bone or neck of the chicken. That commemorates the Paschal lamb. We don't eat it. It's reminding us of roots, who we are, where we belong, because that gives us the determination to free ourselves. The egg represents an offering that we've offered on Passover, not the Paschal offering, that's the shank bone or the chicken neck, but the offering that we brought to celebrate the holiday. Now, why an egg? No eggs brought as offerings in the temple. The egg is representing this cycle of life. The egg is the first food we give to a mourner. Round cycles. We're happy it's a holiday. We're in exile. There's a destruction. Things are turning around. The Messiah, redemption is coming. And there's many other symbolism. The bitter herbs, the horseradish and the lettuce, reminding us of the harshness of slavery. Now, lettuce is very interesting because you could say lettuce. I like lettuce. Why is lettuce bitter? It's very interesting because lettuce, the leaves are sweet. The stalk is bitter. The stalk represents the slavery. The leaves represent freedom. So why are they in the same food? Because freedom is attained when we overcome the challenges. So we start off with that stalk of slavery, and overcoming it, we gain to the leaves, the sweetness, the freedom. The charoises, which we make from the apples and pear and nuts and wines, is supposed to represent the mortar of the bricks. And that's also very interesting because the mortar, the bricks, that was slavery. But charosis is delicious. So it's mortar and it's sweet, similar theme. The greater the challenge, the sweeter the freedom that comes from it. The karpas, the onion, the cooked potato, the parsley that we're dipping in salt water. Salt water is tears, symbolizing, again, the harsh labor that evoked all those tears. God, trying to get us to freedom, gave us a lot of hard stuff. He gave us this harsh labor as the prerequisite because through the tears, through everything we went through, it gave us the humility we need to be God's people, which is sort of our choice today. You know, life could humble us. There's a lot going on in life that humbles us. And then there's an inner humility, real humility in the presence of God. And that creates our freedom. But that was just very briefly the items on top of the Seder plate, the three matzahs, the plate beneath, understanding this is spiritual, giving you a little tiny insight into some of the thoughts. Far more I'm not saying than I'm saying. Trust me, you might remember none of it. That's fine too. Do it remembering none of it. Great. Amazing. Telling God, I don't remember, but I know there's a lot of holy things going on right now. That works. Let's look at a few of the steps. There's 15 steps to the Seder. I'm going to try to get through 3 of them. One of them is called Yachat. When we break the middle matzah, remember we have 3 matzahs in a Seder plate. We break the middle one. The smaller piece we put back. Poor man's bread is never whole. The larger piece we break into 5 pieces and it's hidden. to be eaten, as we discussed before, the afikomen. The adults hide it, the children find it. It helps keep the kids awake. We do not steal the afikomen. We don't want children to become thieves. The Seder is a lot about children. In Sephardic homes, some have the custom that they tie the afikomen under the arms of their children, who carry it all night. Like when we left Egypt and we carried the matzah. What is this saying? Many, many spiritual things. On a simple level, there's a lot broken in this world. And we could say, what's God doing? Why does he create a world where hearts break, where lives shatter, where beauty crumbles? A whole vessel contains its measure. A broken vessel is infinite. Matzah is the poor man's bread, right? It's just flour and water. It's flat, it's low, it's broken. And that brokenness allows our soul to open up and escape our personal Egypt. It's like if you feel whole and full, there's no room to grow. The saying is, there's nothing more whole than a broken heart. So we want to feel the openness of brokenness. We want to feel broken just enough to be open, that there's so much more that we don't have and that we want. Redemption for ourselves, redemption for the world, personal liberation and freedom. Passover is about us walking out. We, in a previous incarnation, left Egypt 3,300 some years ago. We are leaving Egypt now, and Passover is the most auspicious time to go. Globally, we want Mashiach now, and we'd like it to happen now, even before Passover. And personally, we are trying to leave our personal Egypt, whatever limits us. I'm going to take one piece of the Magid, because I know people at the Seder like to share thoughts on what we say. The Magid is reading the passages. So this is a thought that I always really enjoy. So I find it very, very, very meaningful. I always think of it sometimes actually in terms of this class specifically. It sort of reminds me of this thought. So I'm sure I've shared it many times, but that's fine. Often, every Seder, we say the same things, the things we like, the things that are meaningful to us. So, among the passages we read when we're reading, till we get to the food, we're reading. So we're told about a famous sage named Elazar ben Azariah who said, I'm like 70 years old. He said, I'm like 70 years old, and all these years, I never merited that in terms of something very specific, that the law should be like me. Now that's surprising. I'm like 7 years old. Why aren't they listening to me? A venerable sage. I should be listened to, you'd think. So the question is, what was he talking about? He was not 70. He was 18. It's a very interesting story, because for a certain critical reason that I'm not going to go into, that's a very long story, the sages approached this young sage who was all of 18, Elazar ben Azariah, and they said, can you be the leader over us? We need your merits. You come from very illustrious stock. You're very holy and spiritual. Can you be the leader of all of us? And he asked his wife, and his wife said, are you crazy? You're 18 years old. They're going to make a schmuck out of you. Respect you. You're an 18-year-old kid. They're all venerable sages. You're 18. It's a good point. That night, he went to sleep, as we like to do at night. And the next morning, he woke up, and there were 18 rows of white hairs in his beard. And he understood God's message. All right, I want you to do the job. And if you need a little white in your beard to be successful, no problem. I'll give you the white as well. So Elazar ben Azariah was the leader of this body called the Sanhedrin, the ultimate governing body of Torah of the Jewish people. But he's 18. And he says, I'm like 70. Why aren't people listening to me? And the question is, but he's not 70. He's 18. What did he mean he's like 70? So the answer is, but he knows he's a reincarnation. He, prior to this, was in this world as a prophet Samuel, Shmuel Hanavi. And Samuel passed away when he was 52. And 18 and 52 is 70. So he's saying, I'm like 70. I lived 52 years as Samuel. I've lived 18 years now. I'm 70. So if I'm 70, why am I not convincing anyone of my opinion, right? I said we have to remember the exodus from Egypt by night. Nobody was listening to me. Then Ben Zoma connects it to a verse, and now everybody agrees. What's the deal? How come you didn't listen to me? I'm like 70. Well, you're not like 70. You maybe think you're 70. You're not 70, you're 18. But no, the point is, really he was 70 spiritually. Spiritually. The 52 years of Samuel and his 18 years is 70. So he's saying, I am 70. And that's why I have these rows of white in my beard, because that's my true spiritual age. So since I'm 70, my understanding of the law should have been followed. That's why he looked like 70. The world mirrors Torah. Even in something as external as your hair, the world is according to Torah. According to the Torah, he's 70. He got the white hairs of a 70-year-old. That's an interesting thought. Why do I really enjoy and appreciate this concept? Because I think it's so applicable for all of us. We are all old. We are very old. And you could say, don't remind me, I know I'm old. I don't need to come to class to hear that. But I mean, we are far older than you understand because we're old souls. We have been in this world many, many, many times. We were all here by the Exodus. We were all here by Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. We were all here actually far prior by the Tower of Babylonia. We were all brought back now. And we've all been here many times personally. We're all old souls with mega power. Why is that significant? You know, in our world, old is not a compliment. But it's very significant because sometimes we're challenged by things that we don't feel we have the strength to deal with. Too much for me. I can't handle this. I don't know how to deal with this. We have to remember we're old. We are super powerful because everything good that we accomplished in any previous lifetime is helping me now. Everything. It's part of who I am. What I think, what I say, what I do, all of that I can pull on the energy of all my previous lifetimes, and I have a lot of power. Just like, remember, Eliezer ben Azariah, his hair changed. Hair is very external. We're talking about things a lot more than that. That's all part of who I am, and all can be impacted by all of my good years and years and years. And you could say, wait a minute. Maybe I did things wrong in my previous lifetime also. Maybe that's also remaining and impacting now. Maybe that's the reason for some of the things I'm going through. But we reassure ourselves and say, good is eternal. Evil is not. Evil is a concealment. Probably I already repented for that evil that I might have done. Maybe I already went through the cleansing processes for that evil I might have done. It's gone, but my good lasts forever. And this also relates to a question one could ask about the redemption, which of course is very thematic to Passover, because Passover is all about redemption. The first 2 days of Passover, we remember the redemption of the past. The final 2 days of Passover, we focus on the upcoming, right now, imminent redemption. And we can say, but how can we have redemption? Previous generations didn't. They were obviously higher than us and more spiritual than us and more holy than us. Well, now we know the answer to that question. We've got all the good of the previous generations plus our own, because we all are products of many, many, many lifetimes. Very relevant, because sometimes we feel we are in situations that demands a lot more muscle than we have. We feel there's no way I can handle what's being thrown at me. And you know what? Maybe you have experienced this, and in the end of the day, somehow you dealt with it. You handled it. You overcame it. And this could be exactly why. Because we are more powerful than we imagined. We are aged souls with mega muscles, and we need those muscles because life is very challenging, but we have them and we can use them. I'm going to just jump. Magid, telling the stories, was the 5th step of the ritualized Seder. I'm going to jump all the way to the 13th step, blessing. Say the grace after meal. We thank God for the food. Before we say the grace after meal, we pour a cup of wine for Elijah, for Eliyahu, and we fill our cup with wine. That's the 3rd cup. Then we say that grace after meal. We make the blessing on the wine. We drink our wine. Elijah's wine stays in the cup till after the whole Seder is concluded. When we're saying this grace after meal, we're blessing God. We're thanking God with a lot of joy. We sing it. We say it with a lot of confidence that there's a higher force in our life. We're supposed to say it loud, joyful, sincere. We're initiating a reciprocal current between us and God. Miracles happen when divine energy from beyond enters within. Why did those miracles happen in Egypt? Because we believed they would. Those that didn't believe, they saw plagues. To see the miracles, we have to open our heart and mind open enough to receive infinite. And that's the opening we make when we thank God for the miracle of our food. I thought this was a really relevant idea because it's not only on Passover by the Seder. Every day we eat. Every day we can thank God for our food. And as we're thanking God for our food with joy, with sincerity, we can really, again, create the relationship back and forth. Our belief, our already appreciation allows God's response to come to us, and we should really see those miracles in our life. Passover is about freedom. Passover is about humility. Passover is about Mashiach, redemption. Passover is about miracles. The word for this month, Nisan, has, if you hear it like two N's, Nisan, in the beginning and the end, that N sound stands for miracle, because that's how you say miracle in Hebrew, Nis. So Nisan has two N's, beginning and the end, because it's miracles of miracles. This is a time for humility, for faith, for redemption, for liberation, and for miracles. And as we thank God with joy, with confidence, with sincerity, we allow the miracles to flow. The 14th step is the Hallel, when we praise God. So we fill the cup with wine, that's cup number 4. We open the front door to welcome Elijah. Elijah literally comes, as we discussed last week. Often just the children go. You can go as well. I said I go every year. We recite a passage saying, God, pour out your wrath on the enemies. We have a lot of enemies we want that wrath poured on now. Say it with meaning. Know what you're saying. It's a very significant time. As I mentioned last week, Elijah literally comes to each Seder, and we are told we want to ask wisely from him. We don't want to waste the opportunity. It's an incredible time to ask. We open the door, symbolizing tonight is the night of protection. God is guarding us. We open the door with confidence and trust. The first Passover, we were liberated because of our trust. Also now. And then we offer praise to God for his mercy and compassion in redeeming us, and in anticipation of the ultimate redemption of Mashiach coming now. And we could say, why does God need our praise? He doesn't. We do. Kabbalistically, we're told when we praise his kindness, we reveal his compassion. And as we said last week, after we do everything in our power to achieve this freedom, all the ritualized steps of the Seder, we're saying this praise, we're surrendering to God, we're placing ourselves in God's hands. Whatever we couldn't do, he will do to conclude the process of our freedom. One final thought, as my train is pulling in, whatever God tells us to do, he does. He told us to open our door. The night of the Seder, this year, Wednesday night and Thursday night, God is opening every door in the cosmos to all the Jewish people, to each one of us, regardless of what we've done. The night of the Seder is the chance to jump to the highest spiritual levels. That's the whole idea of the word Passover. Pesach in Hebrew means to leap over. God is doing it, so we can do it as well. We should all have a very, very joyous and liberating, physically and spiritually fulfilling Passover. If you did not yet sell your chametz, again, I put a link on the group, and you could definitely send me your information. I will gladly do it for you. Any other Passover questions, please reach out to me, WhatsApp me, and we should all have a kosher and joyous Passover. And we should, even before Passover, get to Jerusalem, all of us, with a complete redemption, so we can celebrate together and have that, not the shank bone or chicken neck on our table, but really have that Paschal lamb like we've been waiting for all these years.